Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you are doing well. We're going to talk about central bank gold demand. It blows me away when people are like, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, I'm buying gold. Yeah, but are you sure? And I'm like, well, I'm only buying it because rich people are buying it. Central banks are buying it. The world's splitting into two economies. And they still sort of look at you like, really? It just blows me away. It's so easy sometimes to see the signs of what's coming, but because things don't happen in rapid fashion, really quick format, it's like, well, I guess it didn't happen. It blows me away. This is exactly why there are only a few people in this world that are wealthy, because there are only a few people, it seems like, that are patient. Have you listened to TikTok? Have you watched the metrics? It's like YouTube Shorts, Facebook Shorts, TikTok. This appeals to the mass audience. Why? Because their attention span is bupkis. And it is true. Advertising agencies talk about this attention span and how short over the last handful of decades it has become shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's why most people cannot see the cycles that are happening. Most people cannot see what is happening as like a slow rolling train crash. And they always sit there and they go, okay, fine. Even if what you're saying is true, this economic downturn, I've got time. Or they want to ask, and this is the most famous question, how much time do I have? And that is when I know I'm dealing with somebody that's completely lazy, completely closed off. Why? Because they want to be able to party, rock and roll, and have fun right up until the end, and then do something about it. But it actually doesn't work that way. So let's talk about a story out of Zero Hedge. And it's very, very telling. And this is why I've been vaulting gold. Now, really quick, I'm going to put 3 links to companies that I personally work with that I have used their services. And I like them. I trust them. When it comes to vaulting, I've got 2 vaulting companies in there on the top line of the description, and a metals company that you can actually buy physical metal from. If you don't want to use the link, it's Silver Gold Bull. You don't have to. It's the same price. It's okay, but it does support the channel. Either way, I use them and I've trusted them, so no worries there. But this is the reason why I buy gold. This is the reason why I buy silver. Half of 2023 was the highest on record. The central bank, I had it. Okay, let me read this over again. Central bank gold demand in the first half of 2023 was the highest on record. Ever. In recent history. The first half of 2023, January to June. You know where I'm getting there. Okay. Do me a favor. Type what country you believe is not going to be on this list in the chat. Before I get to the list of countries of central banks that are buying up gold in record amounts right now, type down what country you think are not buying gold, or what countries. All right, let's see who's right. Despite significant selling by Turkey, oh, that's weird. Those guys know everything. That slowed net central bank gold buying in the second quarter. Central banks added a record amount of gold to their reserves through the first half of 2023. Yeah, you guys are nailing it right now. Net central bank gold purchases totaled 387 tons. Though the first half of the year, according to data compiled by the World Gold Council, that was the highest first half total since the organization started compiling quarterly data in the year 2000. Now, what has happened since 2000? Not much. .com bust, the real estate bust, the Great Recession. Not much has happened. I'm being sarcastic. Sorry, just you got to go with me. It is the lowest form of humor. That is why I find it so abundant. Net central bank purchases were down in quarter 2 after setting a first quarter record due to net sales of 132 tons between April and June. On net, central banks added 102 tons of gold to their reserves in the second quarter. Turkey was the biggest gold buyer in the first quarter, but turned to selling in March. Now, let me just explain something there. Turkey hasn't exactly had all of its ducks in a row, let's say, economically in the last handful of decades. But really, if you think about it, in the last 4 to 5 years, Turkey has had a lot of problems economically. They've seen hyperinflation, all kinds of issues, which would lead them to buying gold. But you know what's funny? And it's interesting. Type 1 if you agree. The government usually doesn't know what the left hand is doing as opposed to the right. It's like they don't know which way's up. And it's not just the US government, it's all governments, including Turkey. So you get into this mode, you're like, hey, guys, we're gonna buy gold. And they go and buy gold, and then they find out, what do you mean everything's crashing over there? Crap, we gotta sell our gold. Good news is when Turkey bought it, they actually sold a lot of it at a profit. So that's at least positive. It says, according to the World Gold Council, this was a response to local market dynamics and didn't likely reflect a change in the Turkish central bank's long-term gold strategy. Gold was sold into Turkey's domestic market to satisfy very strong coin and jewelry demand following a temporary partial ban on gold bullion imports. So here they had put this ban on gold imports, right, in the country. And the citizens, because they've already gone through a bout of hyperinflation, they're trying to buy up gold at record pace. Why? Because their currency, the Turkish lira, keeps losing value. See, that's where we're going to be in the near future. Now, when I say near future, do I mean a month? No. Do I mean 6 months? No. But do I mean 2024 and 2025? Yes. That's exactly what I mean. And you're going to see everybody become a gold bug. Everyone's going to become a pro. And you're going to be like, yeah, I'm an OG from Ninja Nation. I get this. Knew about it. And everybody, all your neighbors and family and friends are like, have you bought gold? Are you buying gold? Are you saving the purchasing power of your currency? And you're like, nailed it. But actually you won't be. You're at a certain point, you're going to be selling it to them. I know it sounds crazy because there's so many people in the gold industry, the silver industry, they just go, I'm holding, you can't pull it from my hands. That'd be the dumbest thing you could ever do. I like selling things where they're highs, when all of the sheep will run in and they've lost their minds and they want to buy it. It's just like selling them real estate. It's just like selling them stocks. This is what makes a boom cycle and a bust cycle. And all we have to do is watch the common people that are mocking you right now. And this is going to sound crazy. And we're going to move just into, I'm going to use real estate as an example. When I was telling everyone to buy real estate, it was 2002, 2003. They told me I was nuts. Because we just came off a real stock market crash and the Federal Reserve was dropping rates. And I was like, no, but real estate's going to explode because of this, this, and this. When my dentist was talking about the rentals he bought, that's when it was time to sell. And guess what? It was around 2005 to 2006. And you heard things like, you can't lose money. It's weird. You're almost hearing stories like that out of the stock market right now. It's like, it keeps going up. You know, I'd rather be a month or 6 months too early. 6 months too early to trade than 1 day too late. Why? Because it's like a nightclub when a fire breaks out. Everyone heads for the exit. And sadly, it's always the exit that they entered from, even though there's multiple exits. It is literally, and I'm using that as a real example, many people have perished in real fires because they all head for the same exit, which is ironically how they entered. This is human emotion, whether it be a nightclub fire or whether it be an economic fire. They all run out. They go to the same brokerages to try and sell. They don't have the liquidity. Everything goes to crap. So here, the people of Turkey have seen bouts of hyperinflation. They get it now. So here, Turkey does this import ban on gold, and they're like, crap, we just bought all this gold. Now we got to sell. Who are they selling it to? Their citizens. See, now in America, we just did a poll earlier in this live stream, and there's a lot less people on. And I said, what country do you believe is not buying gold? And I'm about to run through the list of countries that are. And everybody's America, 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 America. Do you think America wants to tell you, our government, do you think, type the number 6 if you think that our government does not want you buying gold. They do not want you buying gold, and they will do everything they can to keep you from buying gold. Type number 7 if that's all they think about. That's all they think about. I use the number 6 for a reason. But no, our government does not want you buying gold. They want you buying paper, fiat, crap, currency that, quite frankly, if you open it up, has more satanic symbols than you could shake a stick at. Right? That's what they want. They don't want you buying God's money. They don't want you getting money out of the system. A piece of money, gold, that has no counterparty risk when you're holding it yourself. You got it stashed somewhere, right? Zero counterparty risk. They don't want that. They want you holding a debt note. That's $1. Okay. Fiat crap, similar to the car company. It's spelled the same way. So the Turkish people get it. So at least they're selling so the Turkish central bank is literally buying up gold from other countries. They have a ban on their citizens importing gold while they're importing gold. But at least they sold some of it to their citizens, all right? All right, cool. It said gold was sold into the Turkish domestic market. Now, it goes on, it says, significantly, Turkey resumed purchasing gold in June, adding 11.4 tons to its reserve. There were other sellers in the second quarter. Kazakhstan reduced its gold holdings by 38 tons, and Uzbekistan sold 19 tons of gold. These two banks were the biggest sellers of gold during the first quarter of this year. It's not uncommon for banks that buy from domestic production, such as Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, to switch between buying and selling. Russia, Cambodia, and Germany reported slight declines in their reserves in quarter two, likely due to coin minting. Why would they be minting coins? To sell it to their citizens. 9 central banks were net gold purchasers during the first half. Real quick, before I say it, what do you think was the number one purchaser? Which country was the number one central bank purchaser of gold in H1? H1. Don't ask what that stands for. Or quarter one, quarter two. The half, first half. Well, I'm going to wait like 3 seconds. Yeah, you nailed it. You guys are reading these stories ahead of me. You guys know I don't read these stories before I come on live, okay? The People's Bank of China was the biggest gold buyer in H1, adding 103 tons of gold to its official holdings. Its purchases in the second quarter extended its buying streak to 8 straight months. Since recommending reports of purchases in November of 2022, the People's Bank of China has increased its official gold holdings to 2,113 tons. Well, Ninja, that's nothing compared to what the U.S. says they have. I'm like, oh yeah, do you believe it? Do you believe that the U.S. has the gold that they say they have? Well, I'm going to prove to you right now that they don't. I'm going to explain a little story. You guys can Google this. Okay, you're gonna have to do some Googling. I believe the year was 2014, 2015, maybe a little bit before that. Gold had made its all-time highs after the stock market had tanked, and went on a multi-year tear from, I want to say 600 to 1900 and change. You see, during World War II, Europe was getting decimated. And one thing that all these countries were fearing was that Hitler was going to steal their gold, amongst other things, like complete annihilation. So multiple central banks or countries took their gold and shipped it over to the United States. The Federal Reserve's like, we'll take it. And there was an agreement made. And it was because they were so destroyed, these countries, they couldn't build armaments, tanks, aircraft, all that kind of stuff. They were asking America for help. And they said, yeah, no problem. Bring us your gold. And that started something very scary, very devious. And we saw our numbers, ironically, lift. Well, back after the Great Recession, Germany was starting to get worried. Because remember, France got worried in 1970, 71, and they were taking all of their gold back. They were selling dollars and pulling gold out of our gold holdings. And Nixon had to temporarily suspend the convertibility of the US dollar into gold. Well, that temporary never, ever stopped. It's almost like the government was lying to you. Thank you so much, Arthur, for the super chat. So Germany, taking a little bit of a hint, 30 years later, from France, said, you know what? Let's send a delegation over to the U.S. Now, this wasn't just by happenstance. They didn't, they weren't just going to go blow a bunch of money on first class, probably private jet tickets to the U.S. It was because they asked for their gold back, and the Federal Reserve came out with a statement that says, yes, we have your gold. You can have it back. It's going to take 7 years. 7 years. So Germany got all freaked out, and they started screaming and yelling and trying to get this information on the world stage. Like, wait a minute. We loaned you our gold. Why would it take up to 7 years? Because those are specific gold bars. They have actual serial numbers. They should be kept in track, right? Just like the official gold holdings in the U.S. Well, they sent a delegation of dignitaries over to the U.S., and then silence happened, right? I think it's very important to understand what's going on here. When they came back, they started screaming that the US did not have their gold, screaming in Germany. Very little press in America. I remember reading those stories, and they were freaking out. All right, that is one example of why I believe the US is lying about its official gold numbers. So when I see numbers like this coming out of the Gold Council, I see countries all around the world, central banks and governments buying gold, and the one country, well, it's two for sure, Canada. Canada's, hey, sorry, guys, you go ahead and just put the thumbs up if you're in Canada, because just admit it. The Canadian government's dumb. I mean, mine's stupid. Yours is dumb. I guess it's the same thing. Canada actually sold its gold like officially, like, oh, we got a great idea. Let's sell our gold. And they sold it at much lower prices. Okay? At least the US, even if we don't have it, we're just lying. We're just like, oh yeah, we got it somewhere. It's back in the couch cushions. Point being is we're just straight up lying. Canada just went up and said, we're gonna be a trendsetter here. You guys are buying gold, we're gonna sell it. Can't make this crap up. So that's why I believe we don't have it. Okay? It says here, the Chinese central bank accumulated 1,448 tons of gold between 2002 and 2019. That's 1,400 between 2002 and 2019. Now let me compare that now. Let's go back. It says, since recommending reports of purchases in November of 2022, so since November of 2022, the People's Bank of China has increased its official gold holdings to 2,100 tons. So you'd sit there and you go, wait a minute, okay, so for the first essentially 17 years, the central bank had accumulated 1,400 tons. Since then, since 2022, the central bank has increased their tonnage by, 700 tons. So they've increased their tonnage by like 30% just since the year November of 2022, the last year and a half. No, not even that. Like, oh my gosh, it's like hold on, stand by. Ninja and math don't do well. 8 months. 8 months, they've increased their tonnage by that much. Pretty staggering. That would almost be a panic buy. I would say it's panic buy, but it's the type of panic buying that you do very carefully. You buy into strength, into selling strength. When there's a lot of people who want to buy or sell, you buy slowly as to not raise the price too substantially. All right? Now it says here, there has always been speculation that China holds far more than gold than its officially reveals. Last year, there were large unreported increases in central bank gold holdings. Central banks that often fail to report purchases, including China and Russia. Why would they not want to report it? It's because they do not want to cause panic. They do not want you knowing. They do not want the other governments knowing that they're buying. Why? Because if you knew that these massive institutions and governments were buying up gold, what would you do? Put it down in the comment section below. What would you do? Come on. The Monetary Authority of Singapore ranked as the second largest buyer in H1, adding 73 tons of gold to its hoard. Poland also added a significant amount of gold to its reserves, resuming purchases in April. Polish gold holdings rose by 48 tons through the first half of 23. In the fall of 21, the Bank of Poland President Adam Glapiński said the central bank planned to add 100 tons of gold to its reserves in 2022. It's unclear why the bank didn't follow through. 6 other countries that added to their gold holdings in the first half of this year. India by 10 tons. Czech Republic by 8 tons. The Philippines by 4 tons. Iraq by 2 tons. The ECB, European Central Bank, you know our partners, they're buying gold, 2 tons. Qatar, 2 tons. According to the Gold Council, the World Gold Council, selling activity in Q2 has done little to dent the underlying positive trend in central bank gold demand. According to the 2023 Central Bank Gold Reserve Survey, recently released by the World Gold Council by 24%. Oh, sorry. I'm reading really fast. Released by the World Gold Council, 24% of central banks plan to add more gold to their reserves in the next 12 months. 71% of central banks surveyed believe the overall level of global reserves will increase in the next 12 months. That was a 10-point increase over the last year. We just did a video about a week and a half ago about JP Morgan Chase coming out, Chase Bank, saying that they are setting their sights on all-time record highs for gold in 2024. So the question is, what are you doing? Are you saving cash? Are you diversifying into gold? Are you buying silver? I want to know in the comment section. I want to know what you're doing. Are you getting out of debt? I think that's number one. I think getting out of debt is number one. But then slowly diversifying into different asset classes. Yes, I own gold. I own silver. I own Bitcoin. But you don't see central banks buying up Bitcoin, do you? And yeah, it sounds really exciting and great, but there's only a handful of things you can back things with. Because there's one thing that the people aren't talking about when they talk about backing a currency in Bitcoin. You have what's called the network effect. And that is very easy to manipulate, not only through power outages, attacks on the grid, but also through hash rate. You can actually affect that. You can affect the price of crypto based off of derivatives contracts and bad press. You could do it to gold also, but gold does not have the electricity factor. Very, very important to understand. And so when thinking about backing your currency with something like the BRICS nations are, they're not talking about crypto. They're talking about gold. Why? Because it's one thing that all of these countries can buy, put into a vault, hold. They don't have to worry about an EMP attack. I'm not joking. This is something people need to consider. I know there's lots of people making money in crypto. I do it too. I love it. But when it comes to sovereignty, when it comes to holding, you have to understand counterparty risk. And that is always a very serious situation. Guys, I hope you have a great day. I'm going to put a link to the Silver Symposium in the comment section below. If you want to come see me speak, but not just me, all kinds of amazing speakers, go check it out. Their website's there. It's September 30th, and I got a feeling by September 30th, we're going to be partying like rock stars. Not because things are going good, ironically because the things are going bad, but you get my drift. All right, guys, that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.